From the PSIA-AASI Satellite Studios in Portland, Oregon, I'm George Thomas. You're listening to First Chair. And Portland, Oregon, you can tell from my snow in the background, that's either fake, it would probably be raining, or maybe I'm on the East Coast. It really doesn't matter because we're here talking with Eric Rolls today. Eric, it's awesome to have you back.
Thanks, George. Happy to be here.
Eric, I wore a hat in special honor of you. I'm kind of being a poser, but AASI.
Love it. Thanks for representing. Yeah, I know you're an equal opportunity slider. I know, George, because you've been in some of my clinics. So on skis, when other people are on their snowboard, I know you're a great supporter. We appreciate you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Eric. And we're going to be talking about a topic that, I don't know, sometimes it almost feels like this is beating a dead horse. But you know what? You wrote a great article about this in 32 Degrees, and it's something that I really felt we needed to go into more depth with. And I've been looking forward to talking with you about exam preparation. So, you know, one of the things you brought up in that article, well, before we go there, why is this such an important topic to keep at the forefront? Because we do talk about it a lot, but there's always new things that come out on this topic.
Yeah, I found that I'd have a lot of candidates or folks that are getting ready for certification come up to me and said, okay, what do I got to do to pass my level 2? What do I got to do to pass my level 3? And they're like, I feel like they're sometimes expecting, you know, the secrets or the cheat codes to passing it. And, you know, and over time, I was just summarizing, you know, some points on how they can train for it, how they can embrace the journey more than the outcome, and just the mindset. But there are some things that you can do to specifically prepare. And although it's individual and it depends on where your own skill sets are, there are some ways that you can prepare for it to be successful.
And I have a feeling you're not going to give us cheat codes or anything like that.
There is none. I mean, there's some good advice and there's training, but you got to work for it. You really have to know the material. You have to practice it. You need to teach. You know, you get out there and do the job. I mean, it's the assessments are, you know, as close to the job as they ever have been. And that's been one of the things that's really anchored a lot of the shifts and changes towards the assessment process. Is we always are leaning up these ideas against, is this what they do in their job? Like, is this close to the actual job as possible? And that's always been a litmus test and something we ask.
You know, and I actually am a weirdo because I enjoyed assessments, and because it was a time to show what I do and what I do best. It's like I get to get out in front of folks and teach, and hopefully they won't see my bad skiing, but they'll getting out and doing things with peers that we're good at, and we're really sharing information. And it is a time when you can have fun and have a great learning experience. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. And the best is when people can just be really present, you know. And I know it's an exam and it's a truncated version of what you do. Yeah, you only have a half an hour to teach, and maybe you're doing at least 1 hour lessons at your school, or 2 or 3 or full day. But the people that are, you know, really good teachers find a way to adapt to the process. And we never want the process to get in the way of the outcome. So it's tricky for examiners to create an environment that is not contrived, that is real. We try to be really transparent and fair, and that's gotten better over the years, and that helps people relax. You know, we're on the spot for people skills too. I mean, gone are the days with the examiner with the dark goggles and the face mask, and, you know, the examinator, I've heard, be called. Like, we're trying to see their best. We want to see them in their native habitat the best we can. And the best way to do that is for us to set it up well. And that's one of our goals, is to set it up well. We want to be able to give them a fair chance to showcase their skills so we can compare their skills to the standards. And that's the goal.
So gone are the days when you go up for your assessment and everybody's been saying, oh my God, you want to be with this guy. This person's great. She's amazing. You don't want Eric Rolls leading your group.
Well, we're all unique communicators. Some people get, flow better with certain people than others. And that's the beauty of teaching too, right? So you have just as many unique guests as you do have unique instructors. So you try to pair people up, and you may flow better with a particular examiner, but the experience should feel fair and consistent no matter what. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start out with kind of an odd question for you, but it's okay. I've shown up for my exam. I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. And I'm so nervous. We get out for our first warm-up run and I'm just off on my skiing. How do I make the head change to go, okay, calm down. We're out here doing what we're doing, instead of getting into a negative spiral? Or, I go out to start my teach and I freeze. Is there any recovery from that? There's got to be. But it's so easy when something goes wrong to then start to have that snowball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can really dwell on it. And so two things. You can either start from the physical side, because the emotional side connects to the physical side. So if you're feeling tense, doing some breathing, doing some, slowing the heart rate down and just trying to be present in the moment. Take a minute if you need to. The other is, some positive affirmations, saying, hey, this is just what I do. Just do what I do. I'm a good instructor. I'm going to show it. I'm a good instructor. And you can go through those mental exercises, or physical, to try to calm yourself down. And hey, look, I've seen some amazing teaches where someone in an exam has started teaching and they just realized that it wasn't going the direction that they were hoping. Or it's typically when they have something pre-planned and they try to stick to their own script, but it's not aligning what they expected from the students. So I've seen them just like abandon that and just keeping it real and just say to the students, hey, originally I was going to take it in this direction. We're gonna now approach it from this angle, and we're gonna do this activity, and just owning it and recognizing that you may have, throughout like a poor activity toward the outcome, or you realize it's not working. Saying, hey, we're actually gonna back up a step and do this, and this is why. And if they talk through it with the students and keep it real and honest, it goes a long way. We actually see how they adapt it. And that's one of the things we measure, is how they adapt and collaborate with their students. So I say keep it real. And then the examiner is going to see that, and that, you're just keeping it real. And if you try to fake it until you make it, they're going to ask questions at the end, at the exit interview with some questions. Just be ready to speak to it and just be honest. Keep it real. Like it's real life. We're trying to make it as real as possible. And no one's perfect and we all make mistakes. Just try and go with the flow and push through it.
Heads up, your next training session could be as easy as logging in and exploring PSIA-AASI's online webinars. They're interactive, targeted, and built to help you teach and ride better on your schedule. Find free and paid webinars by heading to lms.thesnowpros.org.
Thank you for that, Eric. And I didn't want to get into the weeds because I really want to get into your article, but that was a question I was really wanting to ask you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's real.
You brought up the 5 success patterns. I'd really like to go into those, and you kind of touch on each of what's being assessed in the exam. And I really like the way you addressed it. So if we could talk about the 5 success patterns, please.
Yeah, happy to. And like you said, I just try to hit something for each part of the learning connection model. And I wanted to try to make it as concrete as possible in the article and just make it clear, because you can theorize and talk around it all day and get real heady with it, but I just wanted to make it real actionable. And so I started with the people skills. I kind of went through, like, as you in the article too, kind of chronological. I always overthink these articles sometimes, but chronological, like you're showing up for the day, and it's the attitude you have and how you showcase your people skills. It really starts with, even the night before on how you prepare for the day, but showing up and being a pro. You're representing PSIA-AASI, you're representing your home school, you're in this event that you're representing the association. We're lucky to often get discounted or free passes from the resort. Just be a pro right off the bat, and be curious about the other candidates and meet everyone. And doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert. You can still be an introvert, but you can still be kind and still have interaction with people. It's going to help the flow of the day because you're going to be interacting with them just like you would your students.
So people skills are not when we're out in a group alone. People skills are happening when you arrive till you get home.
Yeah. It's your, you can consider it like as your brand and who you are, and just trying to be genuine and being yourself. You don't have to fake it. There's a lot that's measured when you're managing the group and when you're managing the dynamics of the group when you're teaching, but you're also being measured with people skills and how you show up and how you're interacting with the group each and every day, even ride day, and how your professionalism. And really that gives a lot of worth to the school is having these certifications and having your professionalism managed is a benefit to the school and our association and our students and your peers. So make good decisions and, don't be a jerk, that's it. Don't be a jerk clause.
How about MA? I see a lot of nerves about the MA portion of the exam.
Yeah.
What's a success pattern for having a good MA?
Well, I have what I wrote down, but I have some other thoughts too. Like, shortened a lot of things. But MA day is fascinating, and I do mention this in the article. It's not a physical day; it's a cognitive day. You really have to be, firing up in the brain to process information and then put it to words. And this is a skill that is the least practiced in our native habitat of teaching students, because we have a lot of internal monologue that's going on and processing information that our student never hears. But in order for the examiner to measure your technical understanding and your movement analysis skills, they need to get what's in your head out of your mouth verbally, and sometimes even non-verbally, to assess your skills. And this isn't where our 10,000 hours are. This is not what we have done over and over and over with our students, because it's usually internal. So practicing this in training is super important. And the way that you talk to things isn't necessarily measured as a criteria, but the more succinctly you can lay it out and have somebody follow along with the story of of this person's riding that you're talking about, the easier it is for the examiner to really assess your skills. So I always recommend like having a system in place. You're like, okay, I'm going to speak to more tactical pieces first. I'm going to talk to the turn size, turn shape, and then move into the movements that were used to create the fundamentals. Wherever your system is, people have their own different flow, but find a good consistent pattern and get some reps and practice it. The other piece is like use the keywords that were in the original description. You know, if it's retraction, look at retraction. You know, if it's extending the legs through edge change as a movement, then speak to that. Look at that. You know, if the examiner says the size of the turn, speak to that. You know, really pick up on those cues of those specific descriptors, and that's what you're evaluating. Some people kind of go blank. They're like, oh, I see a lot of things. Where do I start? It's like you need to kind of take that broad thinking and narrow it down and systematically go through some of those pieces. And that's going to take some training. That's going to take some practice. Even if you're by yourself and you're watching video, record yourself speaking to it and then listen to it. Think about how you can better describe it. I always like to think of MA as you're really like telling the story of the riding to meet a certain goal. So you're talking through kind of like a storyboard to make sense of it. It's a pretty heady day. You know, keeping the mind clear, staying hydrated, eating good food. It's kind of silly, I felt, to put that in the article, but it's so true. You gotta like be ready to perform mentally and be able to speak.
So you've kind of touched on the teaching portion that you wrote about earlier in our discussion, but I'd love for you to go through that again as well. Great teaching is what?
Yeah, so the teaching part, what I find is the most critical is to not go in with a set progression. Don't go in so closed-minded that you're trying to just do all these steps. You can have some ideas and know those steps and what you would do, but really it's about collaborating with the humans in front of you. It's really about collecting information, asking them questions, and then doing something with those answers. So you have this opportunity to learn about your peers, and then putting that to work while you're teaching them is super important. So your ability to collaborate with the people and then be able to adapt it to what their needs are as individuals to meet the goal. So that's the key. That overlaps a lot of our criteria, is your ability to like teach in real time. And that's where teaching has evolved over the years in this assessment environment, is that we're trying not to have it so contrived and so made up. You know, pretend your students are this, or pretend your students are this. Well, why don't we use real humans? Everyone has a cool story. What else are they into? Are they, you know, whether you're teaching for transfer, the actual skill, or teaching for transfer to what motivates them? Like, oh, they're a competitor. You find that out, and then that can tell you a lot about someone. And they may just want to do it and have less listening on how to do it, and they may just want to try it, and that's okay. You know, or someone that likes a different sport. You say, you know what, like in mountain biking, you know how you balance over the bike this way and your hips are in this position. Think of it like that. So you can transfer a lot of great information. And even if you don't know anything about, let's say, mountain biking, you can ask them, like, how does this compare to mountain biking, you think? Because I don't know a lot about mountain biking. So what is this? You know, what's clicking for you? Like, just be real. Just be real and collaborate and adapt and go with it. And you'll be way more relaxed. You'll be way more relaxed when you're hanging out with some people, talking about snowboarding, and interacting, than feeling like you have to be the ultimate control and telling them what to do. No, it's about everyone. It's about the community you're working with. You're the facilitator. So that's a big one for teaching.
You said a word in there that I think is very important to the next phase of success patterns, and that was listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the active listening is so key. People think the listening, or people think about the collaboration. Sometimes they just ask questions just to check that box, but they don't do anything with the information. Listen, and it's hard because you're thinking about the next step. You're in an assessment. You're being judged, and you have to like be so present. But just pretend the examiner's not there. Some of us will try to even stay out of the peripheral. Just pretend we're not even there. You do you. But being an active listener is really an important step for that collaboration and knowing where to take it next. You can get more of a flow state when you're just stay present and listening and having a conversation.
And is that seen more as a people skill or a teaching skill?
Yeah, that's where they converge, right?
Okay.
It is a people skill, and that is part of what you're being assessed while you're leading the group, is your ability to have active listening skills, which then ties it to, you know, collaborating and adapting, which connects that to the teaching. So it's all fluid within it, but they can be assessed separately, just so we can compare it to the standard, whether you do that consistently and at that level. Because the scoring, and we can jump into that, the overall like scoring tactics too.
Oh, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I remember at symposium a couple of years ago, someone was talking about listening, and it was listen to remember rather than respond.
Yes.
And I feel like you really touched on that when you were thinking, you know, okay, we've got this other stuff coming up and we're trying to get ready for that. And because we're thinking about something else, we're not really listening. And yeah, how can that be tested? How do you, as an assessor or examiner, realize that someone is listening? Because you've got to be listening as well.
Mm-hmm. I like to use paraphrasing. And then, you know what, sometimes, you know, I'm thinking about the next thing and I just asked a question and I'm processing what someone else had just said. You know, it can get real mental. Over the years, I've just tried to stay true and say, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I got distracted for a minute. We repeat the last sentence that you said. You know, I'll just own it. But you really have to be purposeful about it and go in with an intent to listen. And one of the things that helps me is to just paraphrase. So what I'm hearing you say is this, that. That helps me remember. You know, and I don't see this enough. I don't even know if I've seen this anytime, George. You're teaching, you can write a few notes. There's no rules against that. Like I have to use my notes when I'm assessing. It's a little odd maybe while you're teaching, but if you're really like focused and just present that and say, hey crew, I'm going to make a few notes to make sure that I'm like tracking, and I'll paraphrase, but I want to make sure, you know, everyone has an opportunity to contribute to what this lesson experience is going to be. So I'm going to make a few notes. So don't mind me. I'm just going to jot a few things down. So if you're really nervous and you're trying, you know, have a little notepad, try to do it fluidly, you know, make a few notes, who said what, and then you can always use it in your wrap up. You could use it when you're watching people practice, take a quick glance at it, be like, oh, I want to tie this in. I remember that Bill said this, so I'm gonna tie this in for Bill. So I think it's important to paraphrase, do some parroting, just repeat it exactly the way they say it. Ask a deeper question, ask a why question after they have spoken. That really shows active listening, and you'll likely be really present and use what they say in that lesson environment.
Now we're doing all these things. How are we keeping track of our time? You've got 30 minutes, and it's pretty exact on that 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
How do I make sure that I'm able to get my teach, get a summary, and finish in the correct amount of time, so that, oh man, I got in Eric Rolls' group and he's so hard on this. Well, that's 30 minutes, George, you're done.
Well, people think it's harsh too with the time, but the examiner's job is to make sure everyone gets an equal amount of time for fairness. At the root of it, that's what it is. And they're responsible to get in, put results onto the assessment form and get everyone home for the next day, on time, or you're there super late. So we had to do a time limit. We've increased the time over the years because we just want to see more, and which is helpful for some and helpful for not some. But the people that do it well kind of know themselves enough where they set a timer for like 5 minutes out. They know they want to be, moving towards a wrap up when they have 5 minutes left. They have enough to finish up what they're talking about. Even if they don't get as far as they'd like, they know they can, wrap this up in 3 minutes and then ask some questions, some reflection, and then 2 minutes out. The examiner has to keep time either way. Sometimes fellow candidates will keep time. They're like, hey, let me know, can you keep time for me for the halfway mark? It does vary. It's not totally set yet. There may be some best practices that the task force roll out just to keep it consistent, just for continuity. But some examiners do it a little different. Some say you have to keep track of your own time. Some say, hey, do you want me to give you a 2 minutes out warning, or halfway through? So it varies a little. For me, I like a little more time. I don't like the 2 minutes because I eat up 2 minutes so quick, George. You know me, we've been talking for a while. I like more like 5 or halfway, but the time, it's so hard to keep up with it in your head. You just got to set it on your phone and try to keep track.
But again, it sounds like be upfront with it.
Yeah.
And last of your 5 success patterns, MA. What do you mean I have to do MA?
Yeah.
Teaching? What?
Yeah, MA.
Know the assessment criteria.
Yeah. And I use MA a little bit to speak to that, but like when we think about this whole the assessment criteria and the learning outcomes, it can get a little daunting sometimes. And something to be familiar with is the Fitz and Posner model, and that's how we measure the criteria. So I like to think of it as your frequency of your competency. So how regular do you do what's being asked or prescribed, or what's related to the criteria? How often do you showcase your skills at the level of like fluidity? Even speaking, if you really know what you're talking about with technical understanding, you can speak through it intelligently without having too many big pauses or fumbles or, misspoken words. So that shows their fluidity and how well they know the information and how often they do that. Like if you fumble a couple times, like I do, I fumble my words. You'll hear it in this podcast. I'll fumble my words. It's just how consistent is that? You can make some mistakes and you can fix them. Keeping it real is good. Same with riding. It's like the consistency of showcasing your skills for the various outcomes that are being prescribed. That shows how much autonomy you have. Do you have to think about it a lot? Are the movements really robotic? That means they're more of that like cognitive stage of learning as opposed to autonomous. You just do it. So we can actually measure this stuff pretty closely through the consistency of your movements, the frequencies of your movement, the frequency of the movement in a way that's fluid and automatic. So it's pretty neat. It's not opinion.
Being observed throughout the entire assessment, the way I react when you're teaching. I'm sure that's part of the people skills, but are you making sure that I'm listening while maybe I'm not being taught to? But again, it's that part of that professionalism and being engaged with the group. All of these are actually being watched for everyone throughout the entire time, correct?
Yeah. And I would say like no news is good news kind of thing. Like if you're not disruptive and if you're not like taking the learning environment and making the dynamic of the human interactions collapse, then you're doing okay. Like it's interesting. We kind of look at it like if you're really enhancing the learning environment by your presence, and being helpful and really listening and helping the person that's teaching by being a good listener, doing the drills they may be prescribing, like great. And you're being really positive, like in a real kind of way, not like fake cheerleading kind of way, then you'll likely score higher. If you're making the dynamic of the humans that are interacting like erode and making drama, if you're making drama, George, you're probably going to score lower on that scene. And if you're just doing the things and going with the flow, you'll be fine. You don't have to over try to be gregarious or an extrovert. Just be there and participate and do the things and interact and ask questions when you have them, and yeah, you'll do great. So people can just be them as humans and they'll be fine. If they're distracting and taking down the whole environment in a negative way, they're going to score lower, as a participant in someone's teach.
Well, I was going to ask if you had any final words to say in conclusion, but I think you just gave us a great conclusion. Anything you'd like to add to that?
I think it's a real important. I said it a little bit in the beginning, but really embracing the journey more than the outcome. The people that are so fixed on passing their exam to get a pay raise, to get higher priority for social status, whatever it is, the people that are embracing the journey to learn and to do right by their students and really enjoy the education part are the ones that are the most successful. The people that are just grinding away for different motivations, I'm not saying they don't become successful, because hard work will create success for sure, but it's important to have a good mindset. We see people go for exams too early. Don't rush it. Like, you do learn from failure. That's a huge part of learning. It doesn't mean you have to take your level 1 and go right into your level 2 and then just to see where your shortcomings are. Like, train, be ready, be prepared, teach lessons, And if you embrace the journey more than the outcome, you'll be more successful.
Eric, always great talking with you. It's been too long. Really glad we had the chance to reconnect. And I look so forward to being in another one of your snowboard clinics while I'm on skis. I can't wait.
Yes, sir. That'd be awesome. Would love that.
Eric Roll is joining us on First Chair from the PSIA-AASI Satellite Studios in Portland, Oregon. I'm George Thomas.